Okay, so the next step is to have your palette ready. It should be clean. You should have your name labeled, third period or whatever period you are, underneath your name. And then you're going to fill up just a teeny tiny bit. You do not need a lot of paint. Again, this is not all the way to the top, like my finger is not getting red. It's just a little tiny bit. You can always add more paint as you go along. And I'm gonna space these out a little bit. I'm gonna put a little bit more yellow because that's a really light color. And then I won't need a whole lot of blue because it's a really, really dark color. Okay. I also have, I'm gonna walk over. A water can, and then of course a paintbrush. The paintbrush you should use is a flat brush. So anything that's a flat brush. If you're not sure, just ask me. It's flat because it's called a flat brush because it's flat. It's wide here and then it's flat there. So I get it a little bit wet. I can also have a paper towel ready myself. And so the first thing I'm going to do is color in one of my first P's. So I have the 3 primary colors. So I've got red, red's a primary color, yellow, and blue. These 3 colors make every other color on this color wheel. So I can start with any of them. I'm going to start with the lightest one, which is yellow. So I'm going to start with yellow, and I'm going to paint this P triangle, because P means primary, so you don't want to paint it in another spot. I'm going to paint that all yellow. So I might have to go over it a couple times. That's okay. Okay, once I do that, I'm gonna wash my brush before I grab a new color. Make sure my brush is a little bit dry. And then I find my next P. So now I'm gonna do red. So make sure it's nice and even. Might have to go over it a couple times. And then I'm gonna wash my brush and do the last primary, which is blue. Make sure it's nice and even. How are we looking? So this is the easy part because I don't have to mix any of my colors. If you get a little bit of paint on your desk, that's okay. You'll use a sponge to clean it up later. And then you can clean your brush at the end of class as well. A nice tidy workspace for the next person who uses it. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Wash my brush again. Make sure there's no paint residue, so I put it on there and it's clean. Okay, so now I'm gonna start with my oranges. So a little bit of lighter colors. So to make orange, this secondary color, orange, is between red and yellow. So these are the 2 colors that it takes to make this. Now, red is a darker color than yellow, so I'm not gonna need a whole lot of red in order to change the yellow. So what I'm gonna do, I'll also need this yellow to create another secondary color, green. So I'm gonna just scoop whatever I need for the red, which is half the yellow to make the orange. So I scooped some of that over. And now I'm going to start with the teeniest, tiniest ladybug's worth of red. And I'm going to put that into my yellow. Now this didn't change a lot, so I'm going to add a teeny tiny bit more. Be patient with yourself. Like, you can always add more red, but you can't take it out. So make sure you just add a teeny tiny bit at a time. And now that is a really nice yellow orange. So I'm going to start with the tertiary color. So a tertiary color is the third in level. So it's not quite orange yet, and it's looking a little bit too yellow. So I'm going to actually add a little bit more red in there. Don't want to add too much at a time. I do want it to change a little tiny bit. So that's pretty good for a yellow orange. So as I paint it on, it doesn't look like the yellow anymore. It looks a little orangey, but it doesn't look pure orange. Again, you can pause this video whenever you want and catch up. And I might have to do a couple different layers, so I let some of the paint just sort of sit on the surface there. Voila. Okay, so now I've got my yellow orange. Now I need to add a little bit more red to create the secondary orange. So again, just add a little bit at a time because you don't want to change it too quickly. So I want it to be darker than this, but I don't want it to be too red. So that's actually looking pretty good. Not quite there. It actually looks really good. A little bit more. So it's more like a pumpkin orange this time. So you definitely want to see a difference. So if you don't see a difference yet, then you need to add a little bit more red in. So now I'm going over the S, which means it's a secondary color. So it's that halfway point between yellow and red. Now we have one more orange, which is the red orange. So it's closer to the red, so it's gonna have a little bit more red in it than yellow. So it's gonna be kind of like this fire engine orange. We don't want it to look like red, but we also don't want it to have any little bits of yellow left in it. So that's pretty good. Okay, you can go a little bit redder. We want it to be a halfway point between our orange and our red. So it should be pretty like a red orange. That's the words that describe it. Okay, so now I have these different levels of orange. My yellow orange, which is between yellow and orange. You always say the primary first. My red orange, which is red, orange, between those two. And then the two primaries, red primary and yellow primary, that made my secondary color here, orange. Okay, so those are the oranges.